What's up, everybody? My name is Colin, and this is, by what you see on the title, my story of working at a game store. No, it was not the Gamestop Nightmare that everybody thinks. The stores are all the same. They're not. I actually worked at a place called J Street Video Games. If you're in the Philadelphia area, South Florida, or the Albany, New York area up until about, I want to say, July of 2017. This pertains to you and the stores that you are. As of right now, the ones in New York and Massachusetts run by a really cool guy, so I recommend shopping there. But if you're in any of those areas and those stores are still open, listen to my tale. So over the summer, I had worked for, this was about 2016. I was working for Walmart. I was a manual labor guy for a remodel project they were doing. And my girlfriend was leaving for college to go back to grad school, and I just said, screw it. I'm not going to work at Walmart anymore. I don't want to work holidays. I knew there was no way of getting out of that. So I just said, screw it. I couldn't be with my girlfriend or my family. So I said, peace out. I'm out at Walmart. But in my 2 weeks. So my girlfriend, day before she leaves, I see an ad on Facebook saying that there's a J Street video game store opening up where I actually go, that mall I go to. So I said, fuck it, I'm gonna go and apply. I bet you there's a bunch of people applying for it too. I was right, there were a decent amount of people who did apply. 20 minutes later, they saw my resume, and which, not great. And they gave me a call saying, hey, you can come in the next day for a interview. Of course I went. Got the job because I'm an amazing person. I started actually the very next day, so 3 days later I had a job after leaving Walmart. So yeah, I got the job. I met Mary. Mary's not a real name. Some names are going to be kept the same. Others, not my favorite people, so I did change them. So Mary, it was the girlfriend of the manager of the New Jersey store, Devin. Met her the first day. She was telling me horror stories. Mary said, we sell these things called Retrons. A Retron is a multi-game system, plays Super Nintendo, NES, and if you got the Retron 3s, you got the Genesis thrown in. Excuse me. So, she was saying that Chris, name isn't changed because he's a really cool guy, said Chris only gave hours when if you sold a decent amount of them, you'd get hours, and then it also worked towards a bonus. So she was saying, like, oh, as a new employee, you're only going to get, like, maybe 15 hours. It's not the case. She hated him. He was a little bit of a tougher boss. He was tough on people who didn't work, so that's why he was tough. I mean, that makes sense, right? She also said other coworkers I was working with were creepy, douchey, and just weird. But those employees that she said were weird actually were some of the nicest people I could have met, and some of the most fun people I could have worked with, and actually learned a lot from them. Definitely not what she was saying. So yeah, I was supposed to go work at the Montgomeryville Mall in Pennsylvania. It's about 45 minutes to an hour outside of Philadelphia. But it wasn't going to open until October, so they had me working at the King of Prussia store, which, if you didn't know, is the second largest mall in America. They actually had 2 stores in there. It's so large that they had one store on one side and another store at the very other end, the opposite end. It sort of made sense, not really. It was not great. Overall, at the time that I was working there in August 2016, there were 13 stores on the East Coast. It was like one of the second largest stores that sold video games that wasn't GameStop. So in about 2 weeks, I had impressed Chris enough, and I was given some responsibility. I got to open the store. Cool, right? The second store was about the size of the closet. It was also in KOP. had nothing great. It had like the crappiest of crappy games. Like they had games that cost like maybe like $5 that actually meant anything to anybody, but no one really bought them because all the good stuff was in the flagship store and the other side of the mall. It was probably making $100 to $200 total throughout the day, like each day. It was bad, and that's with me like really trying. But nonetheless, I had gotten responsibility. I was opening that store by myself every day. Yeah, nothing really happened. It was just boring. Just a lot of Spotify and listening to podcasts, trying to get people to come into the store. But every now and then I'd go work at the big store. The only time I had a bad experience at the big store was actually with this kid named Bernard. Again, another name that is changed. He'd been fired like a few months prior. They were struggling when they were opening up this new store, the flagship. So they said, fuck it, we're going to bring you on again. But you're under strict watch. He had been there. He was there for a while, but all the guys were telling me that I worked with and I liked that he was kind of a bad employee, which he was. He was lazy and he just liked to talk to people and like talk down on their game preferences, and he was a douche. Yeah, he's really pretentious. He criticized me and my game choices. I'm a shooter guy. I don't really play RPGs too much. He would tell me how to wipe the glass right, quote unquote, but it was stupid. It meant nothing. It got the same shit done in equal time. I had said, don't spoil Pokemon Sun or Moon for me. And you know what he did? He flat out spoiled it for me. What a douche. So then, he and I, and this other guy, Matt. Yeah, Matt. We were going to be working a Super Smash Bros. Tournament held in the flagship store. And then he was running it. I was working the counter as well as the store. And Matt was also helping run the tournament. Well, there's nobody else in the store except for the Smash kids. And I'm just watching that and keep an eye over my shoulder. And then all of a sudden, he just grabs my shoulder and whips me around. Almost punched him. Almost. That's the type of dude he was. You gave him a little bit of power and it went right to his head. So after about 2.5 months, the Montgomery store was about to open, kind of, sort of. So I was actually moved to the Plymouth Meeting store, which is about 15 minutes up the road from King of Prussia. Super small, dying mall. Go figure, all the malls are dying. It was about the first week of November, so I was there. I'll take it. That is when I found out that Devin was actually going to be my manager. I was actually supposed to be under Chris the entire time that I was working there. I seemed cool over text and Facebook, but damn it, was I wrong. I found out he was getting transferred from the New Jersey store because it was going to shit under his watch. It was bad. I was outselling him sometimes in my short amount, my like 8 hours I was spending at the closet store. It was bad. But he was friends with the owner, so they gave him 2 smaller stores to take care of, thinking that he can't fuck it up that bad, can he? Yeah, so took another month or so to open up the Monco store. James was a guy that came with me, another name that doesn't get changed. James and I had started the very same day. We were going to be the ones who were going to be running the Montgomeryville store when it opened, whenever the hell that was going to be. He and I worked there for about 2 weeks, and it wasn't going well. And Devin yelled at us, actually, for taking in too many trades. We were a competitor to GameStop. We gave 10% more than GameStop, at least 10% more than GameStop. So we didn't buy things like conventional, like GameStop does. We just got trades in and then sold them for a higher price, like normal. We couldn't run without traded in games. So it made no sense to us that he was telling us to not take in games. So, yeah. 2 days later, James actually showed me text from Mary and Devin saying Devin wanted to let me go. He said I wasn't doing well, even if I was number 3 in the company at that time. Actually, I should have been fired for going away for a week to California to see my girlfriend. Back in October, when I was still under Chris's rule, I don't know, not the greatest word, but I was still working under Chris. He also didn't like that I was me switching or giving shifts to James. Devin didn't listen to me when I did my times that I needed off. Like, I needed off. So James was always there to take my shifts, and I would take James's shifts because he worked at Target. He worked overnight, and he couldn't do mornings, and I perfectly could do mornings. He was just a douche, even though I was one of the better salesmen in the company, and yet he treated me like shit. So I called Chris, telling him the story, telling him if I could come back. He said Devin was actually under watch from one of the other owners, outside of the one he was friends with, because he actually still wasn't doing well, and this really didn't help. So he's like, you're not going to get fired. Trust me, if you do, you're just going to come work for me. And I was like, cool. Yeah, so while there was a new employee was hired, his name was Will, nicest guy ever. He lasted maybe a month and a half. He hated ripping people off because Devin had told him that you gotta scalp him, man. It was bad. If somebody brought in like a Mario game, like Mario Kart Double Dash, he would tell like the old person that had brought it in that, oh, it's an older game, it really isn't worth much. So he'd give him like $5, but if anything, Double Dash is going for 60 plus even today. Yeah, Will hated it. The return policy was trash. You couldn't return it unless it was defective, and you still wouldn't get your money back. Yeah, like, it was bad, and I felt bad even doing that. And I was very honest with people. That's why people liked me, and I was able to get sales, because I was honest, and so was Will. Yeah, if you look at a majority of the Yelp reviews, you'll see most people are complaining about the return policy and how trash it actually was. Yeah, Will would always end up giving refunds somehow, losing money, but he could fix anything, so they just kept him around for that. It was great. He got reprimanded a few times until he said, screw it, fucking him out. Actually, he didn't say fuck it, because I actually don't think he's ever cursed while I was actually working with him. Ooh, boy, it was just out of nowhere. I worked so many 12-hour days a lot of the weeks for some reason, because they couldn't keep anybody. And that on a couple times, I actually almost wasn't going to get paid for those 12-hour days or get paid overtime. That was from owners down to Devin. They were like, yeah, sure. And then Chris is like, what are you, stupid? The kid can sue us. Because I had no problems going to Chris and talking to him about the problems I was having. And he goes, you really think this is going to stop him from not suing you? Yeah, so there's that. Yeah, I had worked 12-hour days, and right before not Halloween, Thanksgiving, I worked 3 days in a row, and I had told Devin that, hey, dude, I'm not gonna work Black Friday or Thanksgiving. I had already told you like months ago. He goes, okay, well, if you want to work a bunch of these shifts for me, there's no problem. So I did, and then he tried calling me in on Black Friday. I was like, dude, I have the text, and I sent it to him. Yeah, so 36 hours straight, actually, is what happened. I said, no, it's not happening, and he was not thrilled. I thought I was going to get fired for that. So, like maybe a week before Christmas, the Montgomeryville finally opened. They missed the entire holiday season, all because of Devin, actually. Devin was taking forever to open the store. About that time, I actually had decided to move to California with my girlfriend. I figured this job isn't really worth keeping, so I moved to California, and they had screwed up my paycheck. My last paycheck was supposed to be like something like $700 something dollars, and then because a lot of that was actually bonus. So then I moved to California, and it took a good month and a half before they can get me my full paycheck. Well, so I found out later, as you see on the thumbnail, it has the J Street logo and then a seized by the government. Well, that's actually legit. That was at the J Street Video Games in Cross Gates, New York, which is now under new ownership. So go there. Highly recommend going there. Guy's really cool. None of my friends who used to work at J Street have any problem with him. So he actually had not paid taxes. Both the owners, the old owners who owned the New York stores at the time and the Philadelphia and down to the Florida stores, they had not paid their taxes and actually had been under investigation since about 2012. So they seized it. Now they're down to, I think, 3 stores under their ownership, and they actually had to close, I think, all the Florida stores. Yeah, so that's my story about J Street. It's not just GameStop, who are some really crappy owners and stuff like that. So if anything, if you want to hear some more stories, because I got some crazy stories from there, let me know. Thanks, guys. I'm out.